We were most excited to hear that you've taken a Mr. Balthazar Franck under the service of the lady. He will surely be instrumental in our spread through Valea. The Divine still hold much sway over the dreaded city. Their faith will be cast asunder once the black sun darkens the sky and their sins are revealed. Give the enclosed instructions to her loyal little admirer. Do not break the seal on the letter. The Shadow Vicar will know. We all have our parts to play. When the ransom is paid, send Mr. Franck back to Valea with your monster hunting dogs. It is time to make proper use of them. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of DM Diaries, where I share with you tales from Dungeons & Dragons. So last session, the party cleared the first floor of the Temple of St. Rhoswen, and they made their way to the boss, Abraham, on the second floor. He held a local townswoman hostage and was discovered by the party's ghost, Dani. She went for the hero play and started combat with Abraham all on her own, while the hostage ran to safety and warned the rest of the party. So this week we start the session jumping right into the action with combat with the boss. He is Abraham, former priest of St. Rhoswen and current deranged cultist. The party is far away, but Dani is inside him and safe for now via the Lingering Soul's possession ability. He knew the party was coming, and thus he was able to prepare several preparatory spells, such as a sanctuary on his minion, who's the blacksmith's daughter from several sessions ago, a death ward on himself, a level 4 aid on the both of them, and finally he was able to throw up a Spirit Guardians because he knew he'd start combat in a couple rounds. On his turn, he uses Turn Undead. He doesn't like that there's a ghost inside of him. Dani fails her saving throw, and it forces her out and through the Spirit Guardians, which knock her to 0 hit points. The first two party members to reach the fray, other than Dani, are Savory and Reginald, both of whom were injured from previous fights, and they dash right into the Spirit Guardians, knocking both of them to single-digit hit points. I start to panic, because all of the injured players got into the combat way before all of the uninjured players, but such is life, we will move on. As Stephen Stoker rounds the corner into the fray, the blacksmith's daughter stops being an unassuming little girl and pulls a knife on him, but she misses with her attack. It's Esther's turn now, and she knows that her party members are going to take a ton of damage on their turns if the Spirit Guardian stays up. After all, the party is level 3, and Spirit Guardians does 3d8 damage on a failed save. So she throws everything she's got at the boss, using Quicken Spell for 2 unique sources of damage, forcing 2 different concentration checks. And the boss fails his saves. He drops concentration on Spirit Guardians. His minion is then easily dispatched by a sleep spell from Otto. At some point in the fight, the boss crits with his maul on Steven, bringing him to single-digit hit points as well. Now about half the party are 1 hit away from unconsciousness as they slowly whittle the boss down. When it comes to the boss's turn again, he goes for his Hail Mary play, and he recasts Spirit Guardians and runs right into the injured party. All of the players will have to start their turn with a saving throw, and they might take enough damage to drop them to 0 before they even get to do anything. And that's exactly what happens to some of the players. Savory and Reginald fall unconscious to the Spirit Guardians. Miraculously, however, Reginald comes back on his next turn with a natural 20 on his death save. The boss then casts Inflict Wounds on Otto, and I describe as he grabs Otto by the face and lifts him up as he saps him to unconsciousness. But Reginald has the Sentinel feat, and the boss doesn't know that. And he smashes the boss on the head with his reaction attack, bringing him to 0 hit points. They have made it through the fight by the skin of their teeth. Just a friendly reminder, DM to DM, you know. The sleep spell only lasts 1 minute. So if your party fails to tie up any sleeping minions in that time, make sure to have that minion come back and restart combat. This is what happened in my game, and it was a good reminder to my players to remember how their spells work. Luckily, a good intimidation check ended that encounter before any bloodshed was had. So they loot the deceased priest, and they get plate mail and a +1 maul. That's a weapon for Reginald, and once they get a blacksmith to refit it, that's also an AC boost for Valerie. They find this note on his desk, which I read to you at the very beginning of the video. But they also see that dug into the wood of the desk are the words Lady Salacious and the phrase, a crocodile has many teeth. In a secret chamber found by the players, they find that the boss had been defacing statues to Saint Rhoswen. But in the corner of the room, there's a statue of something darker and more sinister. It's made of jade, he clearly didn't make it, and the light in the room bounces off of it almost hypnotically. It depicts a woman with devil wings, horns, and a tail, impossibly beautiful. The hostage that Danny rescued confirmed that that statue is the Lady Salacious and that she is at the bottom of the mines. The party now knows their new aim. They must enter the mines and kill the Lady Salacious before anyone else gets hurt. But before they do that, clearing the rest of the temple was too enticing. So they enter the basement, where they fight an ogre, and they work their way through a labyrinth, and they end up fighting a pack of troglodytes. They loot gold and a brooch of shielding, and find a hidden coffin of a deceased priest. He was killed by many stab wounds to the chest and abdomen. The body's been dead for at least a little bit over a year, right around the time all of this started. With old questions answered and new ones ignited, the party steels themselves to face the final leg of their quest in Greydale. Next session, they're going to enter the mines, but for now, that's all I really got for you guys today. Bit of a shorter video, I realize, but most of the session was just combat and party planning. What I can say is be very careful when throwing a challenging boss fight to your party. I tread a very fine line with realism in that my boss was alerted to the party's presence and thus he had several rounds to cast preparatory spells. I intentionally made this fight a challenge for my players, more so than just throwing him with some higher hit points. He was an 8th level Forge cleric, and I run for 7 people of 3rd level. I think I managed to sell the fight to the players, given their struggle beating him, but if they made a few poor tactical decisions, they might have lost someone. So please, by all means, give your players boss fights that challenge them and elevate them to higher levels of combat awareness. But be careful that you're not going to overwhelm them too early, especially if they're newer players or they don't come from a background of turn-based strategy games. Perhaps there's space down the line for me to make a video just on running boss fights. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this update, and I'm looking forward to the dungeon of this arc with my party next week. It's been a long time since I've run a proper dungeon, and I can't wait to share with you what happens next. Till next time, I'm Clay, and I hope you have a wonderful day.